Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest from South Africa, where political turbulence has become a common occurrence as President Cyril Ramaphosa steers a coalition government. This time he faces fears of impeachment. South Africa's Constitutional Court has agreed to hear a case brought by two opposition parties that revives impeachment proceedings against President Ramaphosa over the Farmgate scandal. The case is being brought by the far-left Economic Freedom Fighters, or the EFF, and the African Transformation Movement. They say the parliament did not fulfill its constitutional role in holding the president to account. So what is the Farmgate scandal? In 2020, around $500,000, possibly more, in US currency notes were stolen from Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala farm in South Africa's Limpopo province. The cash was stashed down the back of a sofa in his farmhouse. Now, where did this cash come from, and why was it hidden in furniture? Ramaphosa claimed the money came from the sale of animals at the ranch, although he did not explain why it was hidden in furniture. Ramaphosa said that he reported it to the head of his police security detail, but faced accusations of attempting to cover up the theft. The opposition accused Ramaphosa of tax evasion, money laundering, and breaching foreign currency laws. They also questioned the findings of the Reserve Bank and public watchdog that cleared Ramaphosa of wrongdoing. However, an independent report did raise questions over his conduct and recommended a full investigation. It concluded that the president may have broken the law and abused his position. In 2022, Cyril Ramaphosa avoided an impeachment vote. Back then, the African National Congress had a majority in parliament, so it managed to block the motion. However, in the 2024 election, the ANC lost majority in parliament. It is now joined by 9 other parties in a broad coalition. With new partners on its side, will the African National Congress manage to silence criticism of Ramaphosa over the scandal? Or will the unity government allies turn against him? The Farmgate scandal was a major threat to Ramaphosa's leadership when it broke. And now, with the court agreeing to hear the matter, that threat for Ramaphosa has returned and could be even bigger. Now, for more on this, we have with us author and political analyst Phumlani M. Majozi, who is joining us live from Johannesburg. Thank you for being with us.
Pleasure. Great to be here.
Now, what are the specific grounds for impeachment that are being considered against President Ramaphosa?
Well, the whole thing dates back to 2022 when a scandal broke out where a stash of foreign currency in cash, estimated to be more than $500,000, was found at Ramaphosa's Phala farm, and that raised many questions, right? It became a huge scandal back then because the whole process was not clear, and there were allegations that the president himself, when the money was stolen, because some of that money was stolen, when it was stolen, he did not report it to the police or didn't follow any appropriate procedures to do so, to report the theft of that money, the big cash that was found under the sofa in his Phala farm. So there were a lot of questions around that. This was back in 2022, and then there was a panel of experts.
And Phumlani, how does... Yes. Sorry, please continue.
Yeah, I was saying that there was a panel of experts that were put together by the parliament to look into the issue to see if there may have been any misconduct from the president. And at the time, there was that kind of misconduct. At least it was seen that there could be a misconduct. That was the report. Now, back then, there were parties in parliament that wanted to impeach Ramaphosa or remove him, according to Section 89 of our Constitution. But then at the time, because the ANC still had support, it was commanding the majority in our parliament, it did not allow for the impeachment of Ramaphosa. So the motion at the time could not go through, so it was stopped. So it's still a matter that is still following him. Hence, now we hear that this matter is, will be brought back, on the table. At least the Constitutional Court will hear it again.
Yes, and Phumlani, let's go into the details. How does impeachment process work in South Africa? What are the key steps involved?
Well, for South Africa, what happens is that we have just above, I think, around 400 lawmakers, members of parliament, and basically, whether it's a party or a lawmaker in the parliament, they can put forward a resolution for the impeachment of the president, and then, of course, the matter would have to be discussed, and it would need to have a two-thirds majority in terms of vote. For the president to be impeached. So that's how it works, basically. You need to have a member of parliament or a party in parliament to present the motion, and then the motion, of course, would need at least two-thirds of the votes for the president to be impeached. The ANC could get through that before May 29, but now, given that they lost the majority in parliament on May 29 this year, that puts them in a very difficult position now, because they no longer hold a majority in parliament.
Yes. And what potential political and economic impacts could an impeachment have on South Africa, especially considering the newly formed GNU?
Oh, look, it would very much destabilize the whole, GNU, the Government of National Unity. It would cause a lot of uncertainty, because remember, some of the opposition parties, amongst them being the biggest opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, it came into governing with the ANC because of Ramaphosa. They were very clear from the beginning that if Ramaphosa is the president of the ANC and of South Africa, they would be willing to work with him or his party or his government, right? Or to participate in the government, in the coalition government. Without Ramaphosa, the DA was clear that we wouldn't want to be governed by anyone other than Ramaphosa. So it would destabilize the whole Government of National Unity, and there could be, it could even happen that this coalition could collapse. So those are the risks that come, that can be considered if something like this were to go ahead or Ramaphosa were to be impeached. It would really be damaging. Yeah.
And Phumlani, does public opinion have any influence over the likelihood and outcome of an impeachment process?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Does public opinion have any influence in the likelihood or outcome of an impeachment process?
Well, South Africa is a very interesting country because sometimes there can be many surprises, right? So it's not a matter of when there is a public opinion goes in a certain direction, therefore expect the outcome of the judicial or parliamentary process to follow the same way. Our institutions in South Africa, they remain largely independent, which is good for our democracy. So I doubt there would be any influence on from the public opinion. But people are many people ask questions out there. Is this matter, is it closed? Some people are saying, no, it's not yet closed. We need to hear from the president. The president needs to be held to account. But I doubt that public opinion would influence the parliamentary process in this thing.
Proceedings. Oh, sure. Absolutely. Phumlani, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa for your valued insights and analysis on all the latest.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election, explains how America chooses its president, your primer on the race to the White House, everything you need to know about how America votes. and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained, every Monday and Thursday only on Firstpost.